And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Welcome in to RBLR Bucs here on RBLR Sports, and we are the undrafted free agents bringing in the coverage here in the NFL offseason, and with me tonight is my guy. You know him as the jersey collector. We know him as Musaab. What's good, my man?
What's good? I'll tell you what's good. The Bucs schedule just came in, so I just found out who we're playing, and that got me a little hyped. Shout out to Patriots. We're going to be giving you a little butt whipping week 4. Sorry, Bill, but Brady's coming back, and he's going to give you a smack. Oh, that rhymed. I didn't realize that. But anyways, I'm doing fantastic, and like every other week, Eureka, I am excited to be talking about some Tampa Bay football.
That's my guy. And also sitting in, we brought him over. We brought him over from the Lightning coverage. He put down the skates. He's putting on some cleats. Jake Ricker, man. Jake, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much. I'm excited to be sitting in with you guys and chatting about some Bucs football, and I'm looking forward to this upcoming season.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about us here at RBLR Sports is that anybody could show up on at any time for any reason. It's just it's a mad locker room that we have here. So, I guess Musaab, you said it, man. We'll get kind of in depth at the end of the show about our schedule, but that is kind of the biggest thing that has just happened. So schedule's just dropped, and we'll go through kind of week by week on that and getting our little first impressions. But I guess the first thing that I'll bring up headline-wise is that Jason Light was recently on the Rich Eisen show, and he said that he, as long as Brady's doing well, he would let him play into his year 50 season. So that's 45 is kind of where number 12 said he wants to kind of hang up the cleats. That's a couple years from now. Musaab, man, do you think there's any possibility that Tom Brady will be on an NFL roster pushing 5-0, man?
To keep it real with you, I love the guy, but it's really hard to be hitting 50 and doing that. And if that does happen, I'm gonna tell you the only way he's gonna be 50 and still wearing that 12 jersey is I think he's just gonna be turning into that like bench warmer, just coach. I think he's just gonna take over like Byron Leftwich's role, basically, like kind of like low key. We're just gonna have two offensive coordinators. That's if he does hit 50. Okay. But the thing is, as years goes on, things happen, and I would hate to say this, but he's not the young Brady, so if injuries happen, it's gonna be a little hard for him to really recover. So. I'm very optimistic that I think he's going to be healthy for the remaining of his football career. But when it comes to 50, that is pushing it a little too much. But if that does happen, I'm going to tell you this: that 48 to 50 year range, it's going to be locked in for sure. He's just going to be like the next kind of like offensive coordinator, like just like Blaine Gabbert or just like Ryan Griffin, and we'll just have all of our eyes on Kyle Trask as he leads our team to another Super Bowl around that time.
Yeah, I'm not sure Brady would be comfortable holding the clipboard at any era. He did that at 22. I don't think he'll do that at 48. So, Jake, though, I'll ask you, man. You might have some experience with an aging quarterback at the end of his career, maybe not wanting to hang up the things. Do you see Tom Brady sticking around past this 2-year extension that he signed with the Bucs here?
Yeah, and for those that may not know, I am a Packers fan. I know. Don't shoot me, but I know. But I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I always support the hometown team. This is Tampa Bay, right? So
yes, sir.
But yes, I do have a little bit of experience that, and the Packers have unfortunately handled this situation very terribly. I don't think that's going to happen with the Bucs, which is the good news. And listen, here's what I'll say: if anybody can go to 50. It's probably going to be Tom Brady because, this man has been playing for – we thought this guy was going to retire a couple years ago, and he's still just chugging along and winning more Super Bowls. So I'm, I don't think it's likely. It surprised me. I'm with Musaab over there saying that'd be tough to do. But listen, if anybody could do it, it's Tom Brady. But the Bucs did draft Kyle Trask, who I'm a huge fan of as a Gator fan. So I think they could definitely switch over if they need to when and if Tom Brady does retire.
Well, bringing in Trask to be the heir apparent or the backup, or Brady's been through this a few times in New England, right? He's seen Garoppolo, he's seen Matt Castle, he's seen all these guys that were supposed to be the young upstart that were going to finally take the old man down. But with Kyle Trask, it's a little different because of such a wide difference in Brady's the GOAT. Unquestionably, he's the quarterback unless he decides he doesn't want to be the quarterback. But with Trask, though, he might be bringing us some more Twitter followers, and that's the other piece of news that we'll bring up is that, Jake, you alerted us that the Buccaneers finally surpassed 1 million Twitter followers, man.
Yeah, they did. I saw their little tweet out. They put a nice, funny little meme out of Drake. The little, the hand. Like, I don't know. We don't need 999,000 followers, but this 1 million followers, I like that. So, very cool for them. Awesome to see that all the sports teams in Tampa are continuing to grow. So much, especially with all of everybody's recent success. So that's awesome. I know you mentioned, Eureka, that the Bucs are still fourth in following count when it comes to the division. But hey, still hitting 1 million followers. That's a fun, huge accomplishment, which is really cool. And that's only going to keep going up for the Buccaneers if they continue their success right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, Musaab, man, who do you think is leading the NFC South in Twitter followers?
Who do I think?
What team would you just think is like okay, if it's not the Bucs, if they're not,
the Bucs,
the number one team,
I would say the Saints. Then I mean,
the Saints, right?
Saints, they, even when they come to our stadium, they bring a lot of fans. They bring a lot of energy, and
Drew Brees, right? Drew Brees, Hall of Famer.
I do think that when I think of the Falcons and Falcons and Panthers, they just I don't know. Like when it comes to them, their record and overall, they've never really been that good, maybe back in the Vic days, Falcons were looking good. But for that reason, I'm going to say Saints just because he always had the Breeze.
Well, sure.
They're basically like the Patriots of the NFC South. They have that kind of that signature quarterback, a.k.a. Drew Brees. Sure. And, all the New Orleans fans
this was a while ago. They had Reggie Bush, right? Exactly. He's pretty popular back in the day. They won the Super Bowl in 2010. I mean, it was 10 years ago, but Twitter was around in 2010. No, they're second to last. So Tampa's dead last. With 1 million followers, 1.5 million for the Saints, 2.3 million for the Atlanta Falcons, and your NFC South Twitter champions, 3 million followers for the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
There's no way that's legit. Wait, how many people live in Carolina versus live in Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa,
question.
Right?
That's what I'm wondering too.
So it's insane. That can't be legit. Like there's no way that three times as many people like the Panthers and follow them on Twitter than the Bucs.
All right, I just looked it up. How many people do you think live in North Carolina?
Well, let's see. I'm bad at this. I would say maybe like 1 point. Well, if you're considering the whole metropolitan area, like 1.1 million people.
Not even close. Believe it or not, it's 10. It says 10.49 million.
Oh, Charlotte. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Just like I said, I'm bad at geography.
and this, at least for New Orleans, I think New Orleans is obviously a lot more tighter than all of North Carolina, but New Orleans is 390,000.
Yeah, see that I get because there's like 750,000 in the St. Pete, Tampa, Clearwater area combined.
Right,
it's maybe like 600, 700,000 people. Charlotte is way larger though. Yeah, you're right.
Well, let's see. I just looked up Charlotte quick. 857,425. So still bigger than New Orleans.
Right. But This just means we got to step up. Tampa's got to step up our meme game. We gotta get the retweets. We gotta get the followers. We gotta push. We gotta get. We gotta at least get 1.5 or 1.6 to get over the Saints. That's got to be someone's goal up in the front office. The Glaziers, get on this, guys. With all that said, that's just being a little funny, but. Musaab, I know what you wanted to do tonight was to kind of look at the positions and kind of see, how important it's going to be to have a successful season based on our depth chart. Now, I know we are returning, the entire team plus some of these new additions that we've just brought in with the NFL draft. So if it's all right with you guys, what I wanted to do was kind of go position by position and kind of see what you guys are thinking expectation-wise, and looking at where some of these rookies might actually land in when the positions shake themselves out. And it's good, Jake, to have you here as kind of a I wouldn't say outsider, but I guess it's a good perspective to have of someone who you are kind of looking from the outside in from an NFC rivals position here. So I think we're gonna have some fun. With that said, I think we'll get an easy one out of the way. Let's look at quarterback first for the offense. I would guess that Brady's the number one, but Musaab, who do you see as the number 2 and number 3?
Number 2 right now, I'm gonna have to say, unfortunately, Blaine Gabbert, and I only say that's only for right now, though. I'm gonna say by the midseason it's gonna be Kyle Trask, but Kyle Trask I'm gonna put at number 3, and then our friend Mr. Ryan Griffin, a.k.a. Tom Brady's little celebration bodyguard or backup or little friend, whatever you want to call it. I have him at 4th, but it's going to be a battle between the backups. I just think that Blaine Gabbert's just going to be that dude who, he's just because he already has that experience, he's just going to be like, all right, Bruce, just trust in me at least for now. Yeah. But as time goes on, what's going to happen is here, I'm going to summarize. What's going to happen is we're going to have a game like we did last year when we played the Lions, towards the end of the season, where, we were just like, all right, Blaine, just go in and just, do whatever you want. Obviously, get us some TDs if you can, but, do whatever you want to do. So we gave him we gave him the driver, the driver's position. So I think that's what's going to happen with Kyle Trask. He's going to have a little clinic day with one of the teams that we're already, kind of destroying. He's going to have a little fourth quarter, maybe end of third quarter kind of little clinic or field day with the rest of the guys. And I think Bruce Arians is going to be like, all right, this guy is looking like the real deal. He's young, he's healthy, and best part is, as long as he has a good attitude, I think that's going to be the big thing. The attitude is going to be a big thing. But right now I'm going to say Brady, Gabbert, Trask, and then Griffin, but that second and third string thing will definitely be changing. Ideally, I'm thinking by the midway of the season.
Jake, I know you're a big Gator and Trask fan, but if Kyle Trask is throwing footballs in the 2021 season at all, is that a good thing or a bad thing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, I mean, technically speaking, it's probably a bad thing because that means Tom Brady has gone down more than likely, unless it's just a blowout game or something like that. But listen, as someone who has watched Kyle Trask, the whole time he was up there at Florida, he's a great player, and I think him going to the Buccaneers is just about the perfect situation for him. He's going to be able to learn from Tom Brady a lot, and that's going to be great. So I'm really interested to see if he gets some snaps in the preseason. I'm sure he will, and see how he does. I'm going to tend to agree with Musaab here that he probably will be a third stringer to start things off unless he looks really good in the preseason, which is definitely a possibility. But I think Trask has got a bright future with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He can easily be the backup and definitely could take over for them once Tom Brady does step away from the game, if he ever steps away from the game, because who knows, he might just play until he's 60. But Kyle Trask is a good young quarterback, and him learning from Tom Brady is going to be really good for the Buccaneers. I'm very excited to see this.
Solid. Moving to running back, Leonard Fournette returns as well as Ronald Jones, young guy, Keshawn Vaughn. But they added Giovanni Bernard. Musaab, does Bernard step up immediately to RB1, or how do you have it shaken out?
Ooh, kind of like I'm gonna say now a little similar to the QB situation, but I don't think Ronald Jones is like obviously like the Brady of the running backs in our team for sure. I do think that he's gonna take more of the more of the carry load, and I think that he earned it and he deserves it. I just think that Fournette and Bernard are gonna just be battling out, but also maybe not battling out. They both got strengths and weaknesses, and what I like about Bernard is he's definitely different than from Fournette. So I see Bernard more as a third down threat, but I can also see that a little bit with Fournette. But I also see Fournette getting in some work in near the goal line or maybe doing some first down carrying as well. So right now I got Ronald Jones as my first running back, and I see Fournette in the beginning starting out with a more of a load than compared to Giovanni Bernard. But I think that game by game, I think Bernard's going to be getting a lot more touches. And then we have Keyshawn Vaughn, who I like the guy, but we just haven't seen much of him. I just think that he could be a hit or miss. I don't say he's a hit or miss because he's going to be bad or good. I just think that the competition right now in the running back room right now is it's pretty challenging right now. So I know we have another guy as well. We got CJ Precise. And the thing is, I think he's just going to be like LaShawn McCoy, and I wouldn't be surprised if Keyshawn Vaughn becomes the LaShawn McCoy of this team. Well, at least just for this season. Wish him the best, and I hope he gets much touches. But I think it's just going to be like the Rojo show with the backup dancers being Giovanni Bernard and Leonard Fournette, and then Keyshawn Vaughn is like that little alternate who we say, okay, hey, because if one of those guys goes down, I think, Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be ready to play. But it's 1, 2, 3 is going to be Jones, Fournette, Bernard. But the Bernard Fournette thing is just going to be like going back and forth. I think they're going to be pushing each other for sure. So that's a really good thing for me, and I'm optimistic everything's going to work out really well.
All right, and then move into wide receivers. I think we all know Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, the returning Antonio Brown. That's kind of your that would be your fantasy football 1, 2, and 3 if you had all those guys. I'm more interested in hearing Jake and Musaab. I'll go to Jake first. When you're looking at the bottom, the Scotty Millers, the Tyler Johnsons, the Jaden Mickens, and they even brought in Jalen Darden in the draft. Who do you think, is there anyone that's intriguing, kind of at the bottom of that depth chart that might shock and be the number 4 or a slot receiver, something like that?
Well, I will say I have a bias against Scotty Miller because he burned us down in the NFC Championship at the end of the half. But I think Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson are your two top wide receivers out of the starting 3. Tyler Johnson is a guy I'm very excited to see how he plays this season. We saw a little bit of him last year, and he looked pretty good. This kid looks like he's got some speed, has some good hands to him. I think he could be a very viable asset for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Scotty Miller has proven he's got that playoff experience now, obviously, with the Super Bowl. Well, everybody does, but, he's played in some big games, and he's proven that he can be that 4th guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I see Scotty Miller as the guy that slots in 4th there probably, but I wouldn't count out Tyler Johnson as a guy that could come out and have a great season this year and really fit in over Scotty Miller even potentially.
Yeah, Musaab, do you think Jalen Darden gets a shot at playing wide receiver, or is he going to be mostly like a punt returner, kick returner? Where do you kind of see Darden fitting in this roster?
I see Darden fitting in very well with that kick returner, punt returner position in the beginning of the season. I think that if once Arians gives him the shot to play wide receiver with the rest of the guys, I think having him and Scotty Miller together on the field at the same time is going to be a threat for sure, because they both got some speed and quick feet, but also Tyler Johnson as well. Those 3 guys are all going to be battling it out. Obviously, I think Scotty Miller will be getting more of the more field time compared to the other 2. But I am very, very optimistic about Jalen Darden for sure. I don't mean to do Tyler Johnson dirty like this, but I would not be surprised if he just completely takes over, his kind of role and just kind of puts Tyler Johnson behind him because what I've seen from him in college was, he's looking really good. But then again, I mean, Tyler Johnson had some really, really clutch catches in the playoffs for sure, and I think he definitely earned some more field time. So, being that they were the Super Bowl champs, man, we got such a good roster. Everything's been working out so well for us, and now we got some good draft picks. It's going to be really interesting to see how some of these fit. Unfortunately, I have to say some of these are just going to maybe a hit or miss because, hey, it's the big league now. You're not playing with 19, 20-year-old boys anymore. So it's going to be a little different environment for people like Darden or really any of our rookies, Trask, Tryon. So we'll see how that works out. But I'm very, very optimistic about Miller and Johnson and even Darden. And I think that, they will be getting more time. That's if Mike Evans and Godwin need some backup help or need some kind of need obviously they're gonna need a break. So when they do need a break, I think Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, and Darden will be doing an exceptional job. Give Darden a little bit of time, but I think by the end of the season, Darden will be polished. Tyler Johnson should be nice and polished if what I expect of him, and Scotty Miller, I just think that he knows exactly who he is. I think his performance last year kind of pumped him up. I'm sure he's really, really fired up. He's got that kind of reminds me of a little bit like and it's a bad comparison, but kind of like Rudy a little bit. I'm sure you've seen that movie Rudy. Kind of slept on, just like just that little white guy on the field that no one really thinks that can really show out. And sorry to say it to you, Jake, but that kind of put a stamp that that catch right before the half, that just put a stamp on saying Scotty Miller is not someone you should be sleeping on to all of our opponents. And if our opponents are smart, they will do their best to cover them. But if they want to suffer and experience the wrath of the Buccaneers, especially the Brady-Miller connection, then so be it.
Tight ends, Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, and Cameron Brate are returning. The only, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Musaab, man, but really the only story here is that, O.J. Howard coming back. Hopefully he can get back from injury. If he is healthy, I think he's the number 2. Correct me, you tell me. How do you see the tight end room after Gronkowski?
Yeah, I see him as number 2 if he's healthy. But if there's still some concerns or management, coach staff, or even he himself is feeling a little iffy about it, I think we're going to be taking it easy for sure. I don't see him. I don't see ourselves throwing him on the field ASAP or a lot. I think Cameron Brate will be getting a lot more reps in the beginning / maybe sharing it with O.J. Howard a little bit, but. We'll see how that goes. If O.J. Howard is healthy and, he's been playing like we've seen him play in the past when he, wasn't injured, then for sure I can see him locked in as a second string, maybe even first string if he's really going up. I can see him and Gronkowski kind of sharing that role because, Gronkowski also has his weaknesses a little bit, and in the beginning of the season he was more towards that kind of blocking role. So and O.J. Howard can do a little bit of both, which I like a lot. So we'll see how it goes, but right now I got Gronkowski, Howard if he's healthy, but if he's a little iffy, I'm going to put Brate at second. And if he is healthy, then I'll put Brate at third. And then we got Tanner Hudson at fourth. And yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah, and the last thing we'll talk about the offense is the O-line. And what's cool is finally the Bucs are pretty much bringing back the exact same offensive line that they had last year. The big addition, I guess, if you want to call it that, is that Alex Kappa returning from injury, but Aaron Stinney did a pretty good job filling in, and Stinney will be on kind of. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I think Stinney will end up being kind of a utility role as a guard on the offensive line. But you've got Smith on one side, you've got Wirfs, who just was a beast as a rookie last year. Ryan Jensen kind of in the middle, obviously Ali Marpet. So that starting five, I think, is pretty solid. But Musaab, you tell me, what are you thinking about the offensive line?
Oh, offensive line is looking really, really good. As long as all of our starting five are healthy, I think we're going to be dominating. So the thing is now, it's really important is I'm really counting on the two backups I'm really counting on are Aaron Stinney and Robert Hainsey, being that one of them we just got from the draft and the other, did a good job when we needed him in the playoffs. And so for that reason, I think that Stinney and Hainsey should be, good, reliable backups. My concern / somewhat concern is just seeing how does it really work out on the left side. We're looking at Josh Wells, John Molchan, Sardarius Hutcherson, who we just got as well, as an undrafted free agent, and Brad Seaton, who's a little iffy as well right now. I'm curious to see what goes on with that, because the thing is, and I don't mean to come out of any of our players, but Donovan Smith had his ups and downs a little bit that I saw this last season. I think the ending he was a lot more stable and a lot more consistent. But in the beginning, I was a little worried, and I was like, hey, if this contributes to the reason why we may have not been looking good. And that was one reason I think that we didn't succeed against the Bears and we lost to them, which was very shocking as well. Just seeing these things that we needed to tweak. But the good part is, hey, we're Super Bowl champs now. The boys are fired up. All these guys have spent a whole year with all of each other now. I mean, minus the rookies, of course. And I think that everyone's kind of got that chemistry down. So really, it's really just going to be about how these rookies, adjust the team. A lot of these backups, I'm not really worried about too much about how they do. I think they know exactly what they need to do, and they're aware of their role, if not already. So that's not the huge worry I have right now, especially with our O-line. Our O-line's looking really, really good. It's just seeing how do these guys handle, a whole different bunch of dudes on the defense. I think the people who are going to have the hardest time adjusting to the NFL are, I'm going to say, my O-line guys. Calvin Ashley, Robert Hainsey, Sardarius Hutcherson, these kind of guys, because I think that the D-line in the NFL is an absolutely, it's like comparing the ground to the sky. It's like NCAA, O-line or D-line versus NFL O-line, D-line. It's a whole different world. So for that reason, I'll have my eyes out on them, see how they adjust to the NFL world. But I am very, very confident and optimistic that our boys, our starting five, O-line, are going to do a good job. And I pray that they stay healthy throughout the whole season.
Now, Musaab, you bring up a really good point about transitioning from the college to professional ranks. And with that, I think we'll flip to the other side. We'll go on defense. And I'll bring up the outside linebacker position, where Shaq Barrett and JPP pretty much had the Herculean task of playing pretty much every down. But they get some help this year. You talk about depth. You talk about adding. You talk about moving people through the draft. First-round draft pick, Joe Tryon, who will be wearing number 9. Number 9. You're gonna be seeing a guy who's about 260 something pounds run at you with a single digit coming at you, brother. How do you see the outside linebacker position shaking out right now, and do you think that the Bucs found a good fit with Joe Tryon?
Yes, I think Joe Tryon is gonna be. I think the first thing I'm gonna say is he's gonna get a lot more playing time compared to. Of course, I'm going to say, here's how I'm going to simplify. I see Joe Tryon kind of like Kyle Trask. I see, JPP and Shaq Barrett definitely taking that, hey, we're starting for sure. We're the vets. We know what we need to do. And obviously, I think Tryon is aware of that. But what I do think is, I think this is a very good long-term investment. And this is a perfect time for him to learn and even play with these guys. I think, he's just going to be someone we're going to be adding to the rotation. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, I don't have any huge expectations from him. I just want to make sure he's well adjusted. And, that's what the best part about being the Super Bowl champs, and that's what the best part about having guys like Shaq Barrett, JPP, is that we can afford to kind of change up the rotation a little bit, and we already have a good lineup, so it's not like we have to throw him in. That's what separates us from a lot of these other teams, is these rookies that we're drafting. None of them are guaranteed for sure starting, so that makes a really big difference, because we're just investing. We're looking for depth, and that's what we did. I think we succeeded with that, and we are investing in our future. So for that reason, I think Joe Tryon is going to fit really well. He's going to perform really well. That's when he does get his playing time. I don't think we're going to force him to too much, and that's really about it. I think he's just going to be part of the rotation. I kind of see it like, and again, I apologize for my horrible comparisons, but kind of like a Giovanni Bernard. Like, I just see him like having, all right, hey, I think we can use this young guy, or not young guy, but I think we can use this weapon. I think this is someone we can use. And the thing is, being that he's an edge rusher, if he gets some size and he can do a little bit of both, then I wouldn't be surprised if we even throw him at defensive end. But right now I'm gonna say offensive, outside linebacker for sure. So he's just going to be another guy, part of the rotation, but not just any guy. He's an absolute beast, and I think that he is someone that we are adding to the rotation who has a very, very high ceiling.
All right, Jake, I wanted to ask you specifically about this next. We'll talk about the defensive line now for the Buccaneers. Vita Vea was an absolute beast for the first part of the year. Him going down exposed a pretty big weakness in the front seven of the Buccaneers. Now you have aging guys in Ndamukong Suh and Will Golston, and I kind of wanted to get your perspective. How do you see? To me, this is one of the areas that the Bucs maybe needed to address that they didn't do a lot so far in the offseason. How are you looking at the Buccaneers' defensive line?
Yeah, obviously losing Vita Vea was a huge loss for them, but they've got obviously a really solid line as it sits right now. So I think ideally, if they can just stay healthy, obviously that's what you always want to do for any team. They're not in too bad of a situation, but if they do end up suffering through some injuries, having to deal with that, I don't know who could potentially jump up. Maybe it's something they possibly look at, maybe picking up somebody halfway through, or maybe a trade later towards as we get later in the season before the trade deadline. That's something they could look at potentially too. But the thing is, they've got such solid starters that as long as they still stay healthy, I don't think they're going to have any other major issues.
Musaab, man, how do you see? Obviously Vita Vea and Suh are your starting, but how confident are you in a Golston, Nacho, McClendon, and the rest of the crew?
Hey, they did a good job this past season, and I don't have any too high expectations. I think this is just going to be a really good opportunity for Arians and the rest, and Todd Bowles as well to see, what goes on with our backup unit. We're going to be experimenting a lot. We got a lot of guys I think have potential, and some people are just going to have to sit back and watch the show a little bit and learn. But I'm very confident in our starters, and I'm praying that Vita Vea stays healthy, because he's in an absolute tank. And Ndamukong Suh, Golston, they've been doing a great job so far. But this is something that I'm kind of a little hot take, and I want to say, and I want to kind of throw this is, I think that, and what the depth chart, based on the depth charts I've been seeing with the Bucs, and based on what they kind of reporting about this guy is, he's probably not going to be getting that much playing time. But I do think that undrafted free agent Elijah Ponder will be getting some playing time. He is a young, absolute beast. Obviously, is he good as the other guys? No. But I think that he's someone who can definitely learn from the other guys, and he is someone that we need to invest in their future. I think, ideally I see him kind of joining the Steve McClendon Nacho rotation a little bit, with those guys. I kind of see him with that kind of similar role. I see him as someone that when things are not looking good, we can say, all right, hey, Elijah, this is your time. Like, don't screw this up. And I don't think he's going to mess it up. I think is he going to completely show out and always say, like, oh my God, this guy's a beast? Probably not. But I think it's going to turn out to be someone like, hey, I'm glad we kind of got this. Last year, everyone was saying, hey, glad we kind of picked up a guy like Steve McClendon. It was kind of a little steal. Obviously, he's not someone that, we were counting on 100%. But, hey, we got him for a steal. We got him for, a good deal. And I think that's what's going to happen with Elijah Ponder. I know this is kind of a bad, comparison, but I think Elijah Ponder is going to be like the Steve McClendon of this upcoming season, where we're going to be saying, hey, kind of glad we got this guy. A lot of people didn't have him in mind, or we didn't really think he would, be, having a somewhat important role, but I think he will. I really do think so. I'm very optimistic about that guy.
Yeah, we'll keep a pin on that name, and we'll see, if he can work his way up through the preseason and get on the roster. Now, Jake, man, this inside linebacking core might bring you some nightmares, man. You got Levante David and Devin White, two just absolute monsters. How do you feel with these guys running around on the interior of the Bucs defense this year?
Well, they absolutely will bring you nightmares. They brought the Packers some nightmares as well inside that NFC Championship game. The Packers actually addressed their offensive line, I think, because the Bucs exposed it a little bit when the Packers did have some injuries there, but I think the Bucs helped show that they've got such a good core alignment there that they will get in there and get it after the quarterback. So if you're a Bucs fan and as someone who supports Tampa, obviously I'd feel great. I mean, Levante David alone, is such a huge part of that team that they look really good at the position. I mean, really the Bucs all around look really good everywhere they go, being able to bring back every single starter they had from the Super Bowl. So you have to feel good looking at this core.
Now, I do want to ask you your unique perspective on Raven Green, who the Bucs did bring in as a safety, but I think he plays in the box a lot. Do you see him maybe moving up a lot as a safety and maybe being like a kind of an extra linebacker for the Bucs?
It's definitely possible, but I think kind of as mentioned before, and as Musaab said, you guys have all the starters back. The Bucs have all the starters back, so it's going to be tough for a lot of these guys to crack, maybe a quote-unquote starting role. Could they absolutely help out? Absolutely. And depending on injuries, who knows? You can never predict that kind of stuff. But assuming everybody stays healthy, I think there's not going to be many changes when it comes to the depth chart. But obviously, if the situation presents itself, he could absolutely step up and help in that situation.
Yeah, we talk about changes. The Buccaneers spent 2 of their draft picks drafting linebackers, KJ Britt and Grant Stewart. Late draft picks as they were, but they also went out and they signed a free agent, Joe Jones, who is kind of he's not a big name, but he's a special teams guy for sure. He's played in Denver, and that's who they're picking him up from. So Musaab, I'll ask you about. We know Levante David is an all-star. We are all-pro. We know Devin White is an absolute just monster. But where do you see the Mintners, Joe Jones, KJ Britt, Grant Stewart? They can't all be on this team, I don't think, right?
Yeah, you're kind of right about that, Eureka. They can't all be on this team. I think ideally I see KJ Britt and Minter kind of fighting for that backup position. Kind of similar. I'm just gonna say really similar to that kind of that Blaine Gabbert Trask. Obviously Minter's got the experience in the NFL, so we'll put him at backup as our second string. But I would not be surprised if KJ Britt takes his role ASAP because what I saw from him in college, he's very valuable, especially on those those third downs. I think he's gonna come in clutch. So I got KJ Britt going in as our second string at least by the mid season. Grant Stewart is going to be a hit or miss. Very excited to see how he adjusts to the NFL world. Love the dude's hair, but let's see if his skills actually make his hair even more special. I love the little duo, the D White Levante David duo. They remind me of the Bash Bros from D2 or D3 Mighty Ducks, and all the guys behind them. They just need to learn. It's gonna be something like our defensive ends. Honestly, it's gonna be kind of like that same defensive end situation. But I'm very optimistic that Devin White and Levante David are gonna be very good teachers for the rest of the guys. Kevin Mintner, I think he's going to be a good backup. I'm going to say I'm optimistic just because, these are the same guys we had last year. But if there's one person I'm going to say I have my eyes on other than Kevin Mintner when it comes to backup line, inside linebackers, it's going to be KJ Britt for sure. Yeah, I think he's got a high ceiling, and he's someone that's not gonna let you run over him, and he also doesn't let go. He sticks on to you. So I think he's gonna be very valuable if Bruce Arians and the rest of the coaching staff use him wisely.
Now, moving to kind of the defensive backs, I'll kind of lump this in because there's not a lot of questions, especially at the very top of the order. As far as cornerbacks like Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, they're pretty much your top three corners, unquestioned. And then at safety, obviously Antoine Winfield Jr. coming off an amazing rookie season, and Jordan Whitehead. They're kind of your starting safeties. Everyone else, Musaab, am I wrong in that assumption? And is there any one particular guy you're looking to kind of break out from the rest of the pack?
Break out from the rest of the pack. Out of those guys you just mentioned, no. I think Antoine Winfield is gonna have another great season. I think he's gonna have a season kind of like Devin White had a season last year. He's really gonna put his name out there for sure. Everyone remembers him from the Super Bowl, and I'm sure if you know the Bucs, you know Antoine Winfield. But this season, I think he's gonna let every single fan know from other teams who this guy is and that he's the real deal. But I'm gonna say this: when it comes to other guys, I'm really interested to see how these rookies, because we've been getting some guys. First of all, we got Raven Green, but I'm really interested to see how Chris Wilcox and Augie Contressa, fit in. I really like Augie Contressa. I really do think that he's just gonna be right behind Jordan Whitehead. I think he's gonna be, if Whitehead's not in, I think it's gonna be Augie. And the dude is an absolute he hits hard. He comes at you. He goes at the quarterback, or he goes at anyone he sees, and that's what I love about him. Our DB unit, I think, is looking a lot better now. I think the three things our backups need to just make sure they do is, first of all, learn from the starters, learn from the coaches, just learn from everyone, and just stay humble. But also, the second thing is just to be quick on their feet and to be reading the defense, reading the offense, like our starters have. The times our starters have been successful is when they're just on their tippy toes, they're on their feet, they're staying, following every single player on what they're doing. So very, very, very optimistic. And I'm gonna say I want to give a shout out to our kind of backups like Ross Cockrell, Mike Edwards, even Javon Hagan. They did an exceptional job when we needed them. Especially when Whitehead was out, we were looking a little iffy with the safety kind of situation. But now that we have some other guys, we got Wilcox. He's a cornerback, but we got Augie Contressa, even Lawrence White, who plays safety. I'm very and then as you said, Raven Green, we got from the Packers. I'm really interested to see what we do with these guys. I just think that we got so many weapons. It's just gonna take a little bit of time, Eureka and Jake, about who is gonna be our really trustworthy backups. But we're gonna be changing it up here and there. I think we got a nice little rotation going on, and I'm excited to see who steps up to the plate. Behind our backups, or behind our starters.
Yeah, Jake, I was going to have you get in here and kind of. I got a question because cornerback and safety were up and down last year. It was a roller coaster ride, and it's one of the reasons that the Bucs they've got torched quite a few times during the regular season, and it was like, oh God, like who's going to show up? What Bucs defense is going to show up in the playoffs? Now they put all of the all of that to bed with an amazing run through the playoffs, but. Kind of what's your take on the corners and safeties maybe being one of the weaker links of this Tampa Bay defense?
Yeah, I think, like you said, that playoff run kind of showed that they can and they have the ability to play really well and not have that be their weakest link. So I think if you as a Bucs fan, you look at this and say, well, if they can do what they do in the playoffs and repeat that for most of the season, we should be all right. You mentioned Raven Green, who came from the Packers. He never played too much for Green Bay. He only started one game, actually, in 2019. He never started any other game with the Packers, so really didn't get a huge sample size for him, so he's not going to be somebody that comes in and completely changes that back end for the Buccaneers. But, I just, from what I saw in the playoffs, I think it's something that you may not need to be as concerned about as maybe some other things. Because as I mentioned before, there's just not much to be concerned about for the Packers, or for the Buccaneers, excuse me.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate that. We've gone through a lot. I think the biggest question mark is going to be the special teams unit and just kind of seeing where guys like the Cockrells and the Joe Jones and Kevin Mentners and all those kind of guys, how they stack up in the special teams game. But I think there's also a lot of questions about who's going to be kick returner, punt returner. I mean, you could have. I don't know if you want to put Antoine Winfield Jr. back there, although he has the ability. But a guy like Tyler Johnson or Jalen Durden or Scotty Miller, like all those guys that might not be, they're kind of fourth and fifth on the depth chart, but they definitely can get into space. Like if you have Jalen Durden in open space as a kick returner, punt returner, that's going to be pretty scary. Well, let's turn our attention. We waited, I think, long enough. Let's turn our attention to the brand new news, and that is the schedule that has dropped. So, Musaab, have you gotten a chance to take a look at the schedule, and are there any things that pop out at you at first glance? I know it just came out, but anything that pops out at you about the schedule?
What pops out from the schedule obviously is week 4, when I think, when I know that our Buccaneers is going to give a nice whooping to the Patriots, and Bill Belichick's going to be really sad. We got a really nice schedule. Really looking forward to even week 1. We're in for a treat. I mean, I love all the teams that we're going to be going against. I got some friends who support a lot of these teams. I got Eagles fans, Saints friends. I got New York Giants friends. Wish we played the Steelers, but maybe next year. But anyways, on the real though, I think our schedule's looking good. I'm really optimistic. I mean, if the Bucs play like how they've been playing, like they did in the playoffs, I think we can easily go 17-0 for sure. Ideally, though, I think it might. Sometimes you got to lose to really be a champion. So I think we make come across some speed bumps here and there. That doesn't mean we're gonna lose the games, but I think there are gonna be some close games for sure. But we're just gonna have to see. I mean. Hey, listen, we're the Super Bowl champs, so I just think we're gonna pummel through every single one of them. The only really big worry I'm gonna say I have is maybe the Saints, but that is really about it. That's just because they're our rivals. I don't know. Our schedule isn't looking that bad, to be honest, Eureka and Jake. It's looking real nice. Oh, actually, yeah. Here's what I meant to say. Yeah. The other worry I had was Buffalo. Buffalo in Week 14. So Buffalo Week 14, then New Orleans Week 15. That's going to be something I'm going to have to keep my eye out on about, hey, hopefully our guys stay healthy and no one gets injured and, we're not exhausting ourselves, kind of going from playing a really good team and then back-to-back and then another good team. So we'll see how it goes out, but I'm very, very optimistic. We're going to have a winning season for sure. We're definitely going to be winning at least 15 games. Yep, you heard that right. Locked in.
Wow.
I'm going to lock in that for sure. We're winning 15,
Wow.
15 games for sure. You can lock that in. My name is Musaab Tariq. Mark my words. Today's date is
He's putting
Wednesday.
himself out there.
Today's date is
He's
May
confident.
12th. Today's date is May 12th, 2021, and I'm saying the Buccaneers are winning at least 15 games.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I want them to go 17-0. But hey, no team is perfect, and we may come across some speed bumps, and sometimes a loss is what you need. But 15 games for sure, we're winning. That's already guaranteed.
Now, Jake, I want to be the first one to put the brakes on this. However, if you look at the schedule, immediately the ESPN crew was like, guys, they're the returning champions, and they're returning all of the coordinators, all of the coaches, all of the starters, and they're adding on to it, And when you look at this schedule, they only play 5 games against playoff teams. That being the LA Rams, who have a new quarterback, the Bears, who have a new quarterback, the Washington football team, who have a new quarterback, the Indianapolis Colts, who have Carson Wentz at quarterback. The Bills, really the only, team that went to the playoffs that are returning exactly the way that they were or almost pretty, similar to where they were. And when you look at a lot of these other teams, that's just the beginning of it. Philadelphia has a brand new quarterback situation. The Saints, who we play on Halloween, they have a brand new quarterback situation with Jameis Winston, who is an absolute downgrade from the quarterback they had before. And then you start looking at, within our division, the Panthers have a new quarterback in Sam Darnold, who knows if he's going to be able to be a reclamation project in there. The Jets that we're playing, even at the end of the year, they drafted a quarterback 2nd overall. So not only are we playing teams that weren't very good last year, it doesn't look like they made giant leaps and bounds to become better. So saying all of that, Jake, where do you see the Bucs and the schedule on first glance?
Well, it's kind of like you mentioned, there's a lot of changes, right, to a lot of these teams. So, schedule predictions, they're just predictions for a reason. Because at the end of the day, you have no idea who's going to be that underdog team that comes up and takes the league by storm. Heck, it was kind of the Buccaneers last season. People thought they were going to be good, but then they came out here and won the Super Bowl. So, listen, I do think it's a favorable schedule for the Buccaneers. I've looked at a couple of different team schedules, and it seems like they have one of the quote-unquote easier ones. Again, you never know how this is all going to shake out, but I do think they have a favorable schedule. Buffalo, that'll be a tough game and a good one. I think the Patriots game, as mentioned earlier, that's going to be a great game. I'm sure a lot of eyes will be on that one. Yeah. Heck, I think even against the game against the Cowboys will be a lot of fun. So in week 1 to start things off. As for amount of wins, I'm not going to go as many as 15. I think I could easily see the Bucs are definitely going to have a winning record, no question about that. I could easily see them winning, though. I don't want to say 12, 13, maybe even 14 games. I think they've got a pretty favorable schedule. I think they're going to do fairly well. They could even win more than that. They go on some kind of run, but there's not many tough teams. I think their toughest teams are Buffalo, Washington, and Dallas maybe. Because I think the Saints definitely took a step backwards. I'm very biased against Jameis Winston, but I am not a Jameis Winston fan. I know Bucs fans Bucs fans are pretty mixed.
You're on a Bucs podcast. Nobody likes Jameis Winston.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these teams work out. Because as you mentioned, Eureka, like the Bears, for example, with Justin Fields, how good is he going to be with the Bears if he plays that much? We don't know. How will Jameis Winston fare with the Saints? Because you never know. There's just so many question marks around a lot of these teams, but I definitely think the Bucs are obviously the top team, being the defending champions, and I think they're going to fare pretty well against these teams that they're facing this year.
Well, amazing show, guys. Musaab, man, I'll throw it to you first. Final thoughts now that we've got. We've talked about a depth chart. I know we're gonna revisit this later on, and I can't wait to see what Mikey has to say about like our schedule and everything. But I'll throw it to you first. Yeah, Musaab, man. Final thoughts before we get out of here.
Final thoughts is the schedule's got me really hyped up. Looking at our depth chart, I think we got some really trustworthy starters, and I guess we got some amazing starters. We got some trustworthy backups. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a treat, and I don't need to say it again, but we're going to have one heck of a season, and, there's a lot of hot takes I've already made before, but the three things that I'm going to just never shut my mouth about this whole season are that Devin White will win Defensive Player of the Year, that we're going to win at least 15 games, and... Choo-choo, all aboard the Trask train. Now, I'm not saying this guy's gonna be starting and he's just gonna become the new hero of Tampa Bay, but all I'm saying is whenever he's on the field, I think he's gonna do a great job. And wherever you're watching Kyle Trask play for our Bucs, just know that Musaab, your favorite Tampa Bay Bucs fan, is probably going absolutely berserk where he's watching the game.
He's got his number 2 jersey already in the mail. My man Jake, final thoughts and let him know what's going on the Lightning pod, man. What's up?
Yeah, well, hey, first of all, guys, thanks for letting me join in and talk some Buccaneers football. Had a blast doing this. Hey, it's going to be a lot of fun for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champions. Listen, obviously I want the Packers, to win. But listen, if they're, if they're out of it and not making it back, because listen, we're going to have Aaron Rodgers. So, I absolutely want the Bucs to succeed. I want Tampa to continue this Tampa Bay trend. It's amazing down here. I'm loving it. I'm super excited for the Bucs. Hey, Musaab, I'm right there with you, man. I'm on that Kyle Trask hype train. I cannot wait for him to get his opportunity to play out there on the field for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then, don't forget, guys, if you're, Team Tampa Bay, come check out the Lightning podcast. We got the playoffs right around the corner. We're going to be previewing that pretty soon. The most recent podcast we just put up, we took a little bit of a look into the playoffs and kind of wrapped up the regular season there. So a lot of exciting things coming up. Bucs getting ready to go. Lightning heading into the playoffs to try and defend their title. It's a great time in Tampa Bay right now.
And you listening to this podcast, what you could do is wherever you're hearing this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If there's a part to give us a review, give us that 5-star review that we hope we are giving you a 5-star performance. So if you're on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, we're there. Hit that subscribe button. And we're also on social media. We are at RBLR Sports on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And interact, man. Let us know if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have something to throw it at us, man. We take your questions and comments into how we build all these shows. So, man, Jake, it was so fun having you on this podcast, brother. You're always welcome. Musaab Kuiper Jr. bringing the draft hits last week and doing it all over again this week. So for Musaab, for Jake, my name is Eureka. We are RBLR Sports. We say thank you, and as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.